Welcome back to Stick a Pin. If you caught our last vlog, you know we just came off an epic day trip from Rome to Florence, pasta making, wine tasting, and a mad dash to catch the train. And now, we're keeping the adventure going as we make our way to the Amalfi Coast. So here we are, fresh off the train from Rome, bags in tow and full of excitement for what we thought would be a smooth, scenic day on the coast. The plan? Simple. Walk to the ferry, catch some sunshine, and sail off into the dream. But if you take a good look at the sky, that's not sunshine. That's the first plot twist. Still, we were in high spirits, following the crowd like pros, trusting Google Maps like it had our backs. Little did we know, this day would come with surprise rain, some ferry confusion, and a little scam situation courtesy of our good friends at Expedia. Quick travel tip. Instead of taking the train from Rome to Naples, we opted for Salerno. Why? Salerno is way less crowded, so it's a lot easier to get on the ferry without the stress and hustle of Naples. Plus, this route gives you a front row seat to the coastline before you even reach Positano. Trust me, if you're heading to the Amalfi Coast, this is the scenic route you want. We finally boarded the ferry, and of course, we made a beeline straight to the top deck because you already know we came for views. We were ready for that iconic Amalfi Coast moment. Wind in our hair, sun on our face, cinematic views all around. But guess what we forgot? There was no sun. Instead, we got hit with a cold breeze straight off the water, and let's just say the vibes were more Titanic than tropical. But we held the faith. We figured once the boat started moving and the coast came into view, the magic would kick in. It did, just not in the way we expected. Stick a pin. So after the cold breeze and the grey skies, we finally pulled into Positano. And listen, even without the sun, this place is stunning. Pastel houses stacked up on the hillside like they're posing for a postcard, narrow walkways winding through little shops and cafes, and that iconic beach waiting at the bottom. The colors weren't popping like they do on Instagram, but there was still something magical about it. A kind of quiet beauty, like the coast was whispering instead of shouting. It wasn't the bright, sunny Positano we expected, but it was still Positano. And we were finally here. So we were off to find the place that we booked. Online, it was this cute little spot right on the beach. And normally, that would have been a dream. But with the sky looking the way it did, gray, gloomy, and clearly not interested in summer vibes, the beach looked more like a backdrop for a moody photo shoot than a sun-soaked getaway. We were too early to check in, but thankfully, our host let us leave our bags. So we dropped them off and set out to find breakfast. As we walked, it started to hit us. The swimwear we packed with so much hope, probably not gonna see the light of day. But we still had energy. We still had Positano, and right now we were focused on one thing: food. Stick a pin, the adventure continues. Quick travel tip. If you're planning a day trip to spots like Lake Como or the Amalfi Coast, try not to pre-book any water activities in advance. As tempting as it is to lock in that boat tour or kayaking session ahead of time, the weather can switch up real fast, especially in coastal areas. And trust me, there's nothing worse than spending your money on an experience that ends up getting rained out. Best bet? Wait till you get there. Check the forecast, then decide. Save your coins and your expectations. So we finally sat down for breakfast, and to be honest, the food was really good. Fresh, flavorful, and just what we needed to recharge after that early start and ferry ride. But here's another travel tip for you. This part of Italy, the Amalfi Coast, it's beautiful, yes, but it's also not cheap. You'll notice pretty quickly that prices here are a little higher, especially when it comes to food, drinks, and anything remotely close to the beach. So just a heads up, budget accordingly, or be prepared for your wallet to feel the breeze too. After breakfast, we decided to take the walk up the hill to check out the place properly. And if you've ever seen pictures of Positano, you know it's beautiful, but every direction is up. The views get better the higher you go, but so does the burn in your legs. We were climbing stairs, ramps, and winding alleys like we were on a scenic workout plan we didn't sign up for. But to be fair, every corner gave us a new view, a new little cafe or boutique, and just when we thought we were lost, a ceramic tiled sign would guide us right back. It was charming, it was exhausting, and we were still holding out hope that the weather would turn around. It didn't.
Peppermint.
Like spearmint.
This one mint. And this one again. I think of basil.
Yes.
Good.
And just when we thought our legs couldn't take another step, we reached the top and found this peaceful little church tucked away from the crowd. It was quiet, calm, and honestly, the perfect place to catch our breath and take in the view without the chaos. The bells, the architecture, the feeling, it reminded us that Positano isn't just about beaches and boutiques. There's soul up here too. It was one of those unexpected little gems that made the climb worth it. And for a brief moment, the clouds didn't matter. It was just a beautiful place, still and simple. A nice pause before the day flipped on us.
Wine shop for most points. What do you mean?
And then that's the long.
Now bear in mind, this wasn't just a pass-through. This was supposed to be an overnight stay in Positano. So after catching our breath at the church, we were in full settling mode, soaking up the town, making plans for later. And then we found this restaurant, Al Palazzo. Tucked away, elegant and absolutely covered in lemons at the entrance, like something out of a travel magazine. We looked at each other like, yeah man, this is dinner tonight. The vibes were perfect. But as you'll soon find out, this dreamy little dinner plan never happened. Stick a pin, because the night we imagined in Positano was not the night we got. On our way up the hill, somewhere between catching our breath and questioning our life choices, we stumbled on this charming little museum. And honestly, it was a nice surprise. We decided to take a quick tour, and it ended up being one of those unexpected gems that gave us a deeper feel for the history and heart of Positano. Art, artifacts, old photographs, a little slice of the past tucked into this beautiful coastal maze. It was quiet, no crowds, and a perfect break from the climb. And that's one thing we'll say. When you take your time and explore beyond the postcard shots, you find the real character of a place. After making it all the way to the top, we finally paused and just took it all in. The view of Positano from up there is something else, even without the sun. So we soaked it in, snapped a few pics, and figured by now our room must be ready. We started making our way back down to the beach, all smiles and big plans for how we were going to spend the rest of the day. Little did we know, the twist was waiting for us at the bottom. Stick a pin, things were about to get complicated. Now, before we head back down the hill, here's a quick travel tip, especially if you're thinking about renting a car in this area. Don't, or at least think twice. The streets in Positano are narrow, like barely enough space for one car and a Vespa to squeeze past each other without drama. Parking is limited, traffic is tight, and unless you're super confident behind the wheel, it can turn into a headache real fast. The ferry, the bus, even walking. Trust us, those are your best friends on the Amalfi Coast. We got back to the beach confident, ready to check in and unwind. The building matched the photos. It was right on the water, everything looked legit. But then we walked inside, and that's where everything started falling apart. First of all, the photos we saw on Expedia, not the same story inside. We had booked 2 bedrooms for 2 couples. What we got was one actual bedroom and the other, a corner of the kitchen with no doors, no windows, just a curtain. A curtain. So at this point, we're sitting there, confused, disappointed, and fully aware that this was not what we paid for. We called Expedia right away to cancel, thinking it would be straightforward since we hadn't checked in properly. But guess what? The host, or should I say the real owner, had to approve the cancellation, and he wasn't having it. His exact response: "You got a room on the beach? Take it." Never mind that the room looked nothing like the listing, had no privacy, and came with a surprise office attached. We spoke to 3 different agents, 3, before a manager finally stepped in and helped us out. They found us another room, but it was at the top of the hill, and honestly, by then our minds were already made up. We were going back to Rome. After 2 hours on the phone, 2 real hours, Expedia finally agreed to give us a refund. That was the first win. But now came the second battle. We didn't have a return train ticket. We explained the situation at the ferry station, and by some miracle, they let us on the last ferry out, which gave us just minutes to catch the last train. And of course, right on cue, the skies opened up. We had to run full speed in the rain through the streets of Salerno, soaked and stressed, just to make it to the station. No time to stop, no time to breathe, just vibes and pure adrenaline. When we got there, we had to buy new tickets at a higher cost, and the only train available took 4.5 hours instead of 2. But you know what? At that point, we were just happy to be heading back. It wasn't the Amalfi Coast story we planned, but it was definitely one we'll never forget. Stick a pin. Quick travel tip before we go. Learn from our mistakes. Always double check your accommodation listings, and whenever possible, book through reliable platforms with flexible cancellation policies. And don't forget, always book flexible train or ferry tickets, especially if your trip depends on the weather. Trust us, it can save you stress, time, and money. In our upcoming videos, we'll be sharing some of the most reliable places to book your stay and excursions, so you don't end up in a room with curtains for walls. Stick a pin, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell, because more real travel stories and tips are coming your way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.